Hi, welcome to Reawakening Beauty. I'm your host, Shawna Patruno. I'm so excited to have you here. I love talking about all things skin related, beauty related, and mind related. Here I empower you, mind, body, skin, and soul. Hey everyone, welcome to Reawakening Beauty. So today we have a very special episode. We are talking about what it is to be an it girl. And in my definition, being an it girl is established by so many different things. I think a lot of people think of a hot girl, somebody who's got their shit together, somebody is doing all the greatest things. But in my opinion, what I think for myself is being the most authentic version of yourself. And I think it's really hard in our society to basically be yourself. So today, Gabi and myself are going into a series. So we kind of thought we would talk a little bit about food. And you're probably thinking like, how the heck can food be integrated to being an it girl? And the reason why I thought this was so essential is because there's so many different diets. There's so many people giving us information. And Gabi, what's your background?
I'm an integrative health coach.
Yeah, so I thought Gabi would be great for this episode. So we're basically talking about all of the things that kind of coincide with having healthy skin and how to age beautifully and just basically being the best version of yourself. And that includes fueling your body. I believe fueling your mind and fueling your soul. So you'll always hear me talking about that, but we're really going to deep dive into food. So Gabi, in your opinion, what does it mean to be a it girl?
Well, additionally to what you've mentioned before, I think living your authentic self is definitely the ultimate definition of being an it girl. I do believe that it also incorporates being able to have a little bit of everything that your little heart desires. So, if you want to be that CEO and you want to be that mom and you want to be that caring wife, I think that you can have it all as long as you do it strategically and you nourish your body right.
Yeah. And I think that what I noticed for myself is there's been parts in my life where there's been a lot of misinformation. And obviously, I'm not a doctor. I don't strategize to be a doctor, but I am sharing my own experience. There's been times in my life when I was younger and there's magazines, and I also model, and Gabi has modeled as well. And you see these people on these magazines and you're like, well, I don't look like that. Or you try to aspire. And the way I kind of did it was like diet. I was not sure of what I was doing. There was the keto diet, there was vegan, there was this, that, and the other. And I didn't know what to eat. And I was getting so much information bombarded. But when I found is when I was really, really young, I had a very bad relationship with food and I started to look like an old lady. So I think a lot of women and young girls start to diet thinking that they're going to attain beauty and feel better about themselves. But all I found for myself is I felt like shit. I wasn't eating enough protein. I didn't know. I was scared of carbs, which is terrible because carbs are so good for you. I was scared of sugar. I was basically scared of everything because everybody was saying something bad about food, which is why I kind of created my book where I talk about food, micro and macronutrients, how it can help your skin and your bones and your hair and all these things. Because I found when I started later in life, when it has started to eat more and enjoy food, even going out for food, having these fun little recipes that I made, I found that like I just started to glow, like my skin, and people started to notice not only that, but my personality kind of started to change because I wasn't lethargic all the time. Gabi, do you have anything to say about any of the stuff like the micro macronutrients or just anything that I kind of touch base on?
Yes, I love that you mentioned that you're not a doctor because neither am I trying to say that I am a doctor or a replacement of a doctor's advice. But there is one thing that is pretty consistent is that a lot of chronic illnesses show up because the organs are aging. So when your organs are not optimal, they kind of give you these warning signs like aging or mood dysregulation or weight gain. It's very simple that food, and it's probably not obvious, but food is your main source of fueling those organs. So if you see the benefits of prioritizing what your body needs to thrive, it includes optimal organ functions, which result in a glow, so to speak. So your hair, your nails, your skin, muscle memory, your metabolism, they all get a tune up. And that basically helps you, in order to make them all optimally functional, you need to meet your macronutrients, like you said earlier, your macronutrient requirements and your micronutrient requirements. And those are all very crucial because these are the key elements that help the body thrive.
Now, I have a question because a lot of people are not into, like, I know I didn't know what that is. What the heck is a micro and a macronutrient for the people who are like, what the hell is that?
Yes, great question. So a macronutrient is fats, protein, carbohydrates. So
Okay.
your body uses different energy sources, which are the macronutrients, fats, carbohydrates, and protein, in order to kind of regulate your body and have it kind of like if you think about an engine of a motor, it involves several things working together. Well, these three things help you with energy and being able to function. Then your micronutrients are all your vitamins and minerals. So these are also very essential for, for bone density, for muscle recovery. These are all things that kind of like work in hand with your macronutrients.
Okay. So things like vitamin A and vitamin like C and like those things, is that what you kind of,
Right.
then there's the core essential ones that are like the building blocks to give you energy and the different functions. So, okay. So that makes sense. Now, I have a question for somebody who perhaps like they're dieting, right? I know that both of us have gone down different paths in our life, and especially like getting older. What worked for you when you were younger definitely doesn't work for you as you get older. So I feel like a lot of people, like I was saying, a lot of people undereat. Like they feel like they need to undereat, but they don't realize like you can starve your bones. Like this is something I want to give you a metaphor. And obviously, like I said, I'm not a doctor, but I was in hospital when I was really sick. And the doctor literally said to me, Shawna, if you don't eat, because I was very sick, he said, if you don't eat, your body will start to, it's kind of like cannibalize itself. So it was taking out of my bones. It was taking out of my heart. My heart rate slowed because when you don't have the energy that you're giving your body, it's not going to be able to function optimally. So what I realized is I needed to eat more calories as a woman. And I also needed to include a diversity. So I couldn't just be eating fruits. Like there is people who are like certain nutrients, I wasn't getting them. And that's why I really, really wanted to share this message is like, you should be talking to someone if you don't know if you're eating the things and talking to someone about what's best for you as well. But I think when you have all of the nutrients, you're going to see yourself glow different. What would you say for somebody who just doesn't have a good relationship with food? Like they're scared, like they don't, we've talked a little bit about the micro and macronutrients,
Mm,
at eating enough calories. Like I think you mentioned to me earlier about this airbag effect, making sure you're getting enough nutrients. Like they're not basically burning the body and not giving it enough, essentially.
right. Right. So I hear what you're saying. There's a lot of toxic information around the diet culture. I mean, we grew up with fats are evil, don't eat carbs, eat as little as possible, exercise a lot, do a lot of cardio. And we are going to touch the fitness side another time. But what's important is that if you're over exercising and you're under eating, it is one of the prime reasons why a woman, especially, would experience the airbag effect. So before I explain what that is, I need every woman, especially approaching the 30s and older, they need to understand that a well balanced plate is extremely crucial to maintain a healthy weight. Now, whatever you think, you may think, oh, I want to be 10 pounds lighter than that. First, start with nourishing your body. When your body starts to trust you for giving it everything that it needs, it will work in your favor. And I promise you, because I just turned 40 years old and I've never been more thin, but in the fit way. Like I have muscles, you know, I look healthy and people would never guess that I'm 40. And it's all because I eat more than I thought I should. And with that being said, what you do eat has to be mindful. So a well balanced plate should be vibrant and colorful. It should include 1 or 2 servings of vegetables. I like 2. High quality protein. So organic, grass fed, or high quality organic vegan options. There's nourishing carbs like potatoes and fries and not bread that can preserve itself for weeks on end. Those are definitely not the things you want to prioritize. But some vegetables also serve as carbs. So something to be mindful of. And speaking of carbs, I want women tuning into this podcast to pay close attention when I state that carbs are not your enemy. As long as you pair them with the right foods and you make sure that those carbs bring nourishment to your body, you don't have to be so strict with how much carbs you're consuming.
Absolutely. And I mean, carbs are fun for me. Like you can friggin' make, I did a black bean brownie recipe, so you get a little carbs, you get a little fiber, you get a little bit of everything. I think that so many people just have gotten lost in this translation of like not understanding and just like misinformation. So I'm so happy. What helped you realize this? Okay. So I understand that like you've come to this conclusion and you've kind of used this on yourself, but was there like a aha moment, someone you listened to, something you did that you're like, this is it? And how did you figure out what was right for you?
I love that you mentioned that. Thank you. So this actually brings me into the airbag effect because before I experienced what that was, I was experimenting with my body. I figured out I had food intolerances. We have touched base on this. And I think it's important that people figure out what that is too, because if you're creating inflammation in your body on things that you didn't know was hurting you, then you're actually, being very counterproductive. And you will experience even more what is called the airbag effect. So people start to notice that as you approach 30, your organs require a variety of energy sources, like the macronutrients we were mentioning. And failure to provide them with the necessary nutrients may prompt them to activate the airbag effect. And what that is when your body feels that there's some sort of danger it needs to protect itself from, it puts up a type of shield or an airbag to make sure that you're ready for impact. It's there to keep you safe. It's not going to drop you. And if you did drop, it would be fluffy enough to catch you and recover from it.
Did you find that through a book or was it just like you like experimenting with your body? And how did you find the appropriate place for yourself? Like, cause I know you said you were really under eating. Like I remember when I think we started talking when we were both modeling. And I remember I've seen this transformation within you because we've been friends for quite some time now. And I saw this transformation with even you lessening the stint of your exercise. Like, and we'll get into that another time, but you were hardcore into cardio, like in other forms of exercise. So what was like the massive light bulb switch that you had? Was there something that literally like you going back to school? What was it?
For sure. When I became an integrative health coach during my program, I learned a lot of things. I learned how to apply them. I experimented on myself and I saw that those theories worked. But when it was a little bit more difficult, like I'm very aware that not everyone has this passion to understand how the body works. So I did have some help with it's a well-known company called Lumen. At the beginning, when you're not very in tune with your body or what your needs are, because you're literally starting from scratch. I mean, when I got rid of the contraceptive pill, I was born to a new reality and I didn't know what my cravings were. I didn't know if I was hungry or bored. It was very difficult to kind of map that out. So this device helped me realize everything I thought was right was so wrong. And what it does is it calculates your breath and whatever gases you are emitting that day. And it tells you what your body needs that day. So especially for women who need to be in tune with their cycle, it'll identify, oh, today, especially during this time of your cycle, you need some fats, girl. Eat some nuts, eat some avocados, have some olive oil, sprinkle that shit on everything, and it'll even say, my nightmare was you have to eat this much 3 times more carbs today. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. I don't care who you think you are. And you know what? Sure enough, I resisted too much. And then the day that I stopped resisting, I literally lost weight eating carbs in unnecessary amounts just because it was telling me what my body needed to stabilize.
That's really cool. So there are tools out there like the Lumen, I think that's what you called it. And
Mhm.
and then there's also people that you can work with to kind of figure out your own thing, but I think sometimes it's just listening to what your body like we're talking the micro and macronutrients and maybe getting someone to guide you along the way. Are there any particular books or fun things that you learn to make food fun? Like, I think that's something that I've really learned to embrace, like going to restaurants. I like to find healthier restaurants based on things that have the same values. Like, I like to find things in my life that light me up. What made food more fun for you? And that wasn't like a scary thing, because it has been demonized. What made it fun for you?
Yeah, I definitely do love getting inspiration through other people's capability to see beauty in food. So, for example, your cookbook, the colors I'm sure are like completely radiant, making it all the meals succulent and like you're almost mouth watering just looking at the image. I recommend that everybody does their plate like that every day. So if it's not colorful, if it's not pretty, it's not enough. I think that you should be making it so that if you were to have to buy it, would you pay for it? Like the answer should be yes. It shouldn't be, oh, I can make this better. Well, then make it better, right? Make it so that you love looking at it.
So kind of fall in love with the process. Like I know that I'm super busy. There's going to be a lot of people who are like, I don't have time to make a pretty plate. I know that for me, like I sometimes like enjoy having smoothies and making things colorful. What would you say to somebody who's like, I just don't have time to make things pretty?
Yeah, I totally see that happening. There's an unfortunate answer to this in that it's that you have to learn to like it. You're not going to have a mother force feeding you anymore. Think about those times where your mother was like, eat your vegetables, eat your protein, and then you can go play and you'll have more energy or you'll have more better sleep. It really does count at the end of the day. You have to want to care, even if it's a minimal thing that you can put together or pick up somewhere, like you said, where ethically you believe in what they stand for and how they prep their foods and whatnot. I think it's important to just start with baby steps, like if you're overwhelmed with not knowing what to do, I implement a method with people that request my help. It's called the crowd out method. So a person that gets overwhelmed with changing everything and it's about perspective, right? Like maybe it's my way, it's my why, but I look at how I can optimize my body. How can I be the strongest 40-year-old I know? How can I be the youngest looking 40-year-old I know? And to me, the secret lies in the food. So I am going to make that a priority. If that's not your priority, that's okay, but if it is, then you must pay attention to the details. And that's, getting an extra smoothie. Okay, fine. I don't want to figure out what I'm eating later, but at least I'm going to have a high quality protein shake with some greens in there. You're already doing, much better than you did before.
Yeah. And I think it's just like learning like where to sneak things in. Like you said, like it could be like a handful of raspberries, it could be like little things that you just never thought of, like making sure, like even the way you shop, like seeing food differently. I think that I noticed a lot of people are like, well, I could never do that. Like I find like you're eating so healthy or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but your taste buds change and you get addicted. And there was something that I heard, I forget who it was from. I think it might have been Satina that I was talking to. She said they literally design food to be mushy in a certain way so that you kind of like almost swallow it, like that your brain doesn't react and then you keep eating and eating. So when you learn to take time to really enjoy food, really see the micro and macronutrients, like when you think of a raspberry, you're thinking of all of these different things, but also realizing like walnuts. For me, I sometimes like to have like quote unquote junk food, but I like to find the healthier junk food where I'll reach for, and I'm not promoting any of these brands. I don't work with them, like Smart Sweets. To me, I find it fun. And then to share that with other people is even more fun for me. And that's really, I think it's such a beautiful thing when you just get to experience all of the beauty that food has to offer, right? So,
Mhm.
and even water, if you don't like drinking water, you can put fruit in it and like I've heard people call it pretty water. There's so many different things. You could put lemon, or there's so much fun you can do to make something that's quote unquote, I'm bored or it's boring. Maybe wake up 10 minutes earlier. I've started to do like even groups where I teach them, it's become a passion for me because I never want anyone to feel as shitty as I did.
Agreed. Actually, I believe in what you said so much so that I created a guide that could help people maybe have a different perspective on food, whether it's understanding how their biology, works with food, and how there's different diets out there that aren't really considered, everything really out there is considered a diet and restricts you from things that you inevitably go back to. So, finding a lifestyle habits, understanding that certain pairings create more positive effects in your body. Once people feel what it really like, even a portion of what it feels like to live with optimal, even suboptimal, just a little organ function, it's hard to unsee. It's hard to unfeel. So once I started to really take care of myself and I saw what my capabilities were, I don't ever want to know what it feels like to be lesser than.
100%. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think both of us have struggled with gluten intolerances and like feeling that puffy. Like you don't know what it is to feel sick until you feel healthy. You don't know how shitty you feel until you feel good. Like I remember someone saying to me, like, how do you have all this energy? And it's literally, well, I got enough sleep. I'm prioritizing sleep. I think on another podcast, I wasn't. And then after I did the podcast with you, I was like, shit, I need to prioritize my freaking sleep. And
Yeah.
that time I was starting to like, oh, I need to go for a facial, or I will do my own facials at home because I love doing them. But when I started sleeping better, I'm like, oh, you look better. Like you look younger. Like there's times when the stress on my body, whether it's like a couple days or I'm having an argument with someone, and we'll get into this on one of our other topics, I could literally physically see it aging me. I think that's really important. We are going to have to wrap up. Gabi, so what are fun things? Like I know for me, whenever I'm going to like a party, I love to like basically bring appetizing foods. Like what are things that you do on a day to day for the people that you love to also inspire them?
Oh, that's so great. So I guess if we're looking on a typical day, right? Everyone should wake up and drink water. Water not only is going to hydrate you, but it's going to kickstart your metabolism. It's like a switch that says, bring it on, right? Oh, next is going to be breakfast. Next is going to be lunch. It kind of turns on the switch of the mechanism in your body. Then if you're a busy person who goes from place to place, Shauna's really good with her high quality snacks. As long as you have some that are protein focused, they could be, nuts, they could be edamames, they could be protein bars. If you have that in your pocket, you can't really go wrong. You could pick up a shake on the way somewhere, unless you make your own and put it in a thermos in your car. Little snacks that make sure that they're full of nutrients and that they're actually benefiting your body. That's the key of this podcast. If there's anything you want to take away from this podcast, is treat your body like the goddess that it is and nourish it like it needs to.
100%. And be prepared. I think like, how busy you are, what your lifestyle is, like maybe taking an extra 10 minutes at nighttime or an hour in your week where you have more free time, where you would watch like Netflix, prep some veggies, prepare, like create a recipe from like someone you love who uses superfoods. Like you're more than welcome to go to any of mine or Gabby's things where we have all these recipes where we love sharing. Prep ahead. I really feel like that is the key. There's tons of fun things that you can try, like seaweed, get creative, look for like the micro and macronutrients. Protein's going to be the biggest thing that I really felt like a huge change with my energy, because I noticed I felt tired a lot of the time. And sometimes get your blood work done. That's important. But I think if you can take away anything, it's like food's not scary. Have fun with it. You can even have like parties, just like there's just so much you can do with it. And there's nothing to fear. When you take care of your body, it's going to take care of you. Aging is not something to fear. And feeling confident in your skin is like the number one end all be all, in my opinion.
Amen to that.
So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out to Gabi or myself. We're always sharing free stuff. Our goal is to just inspire people to love themselves from the inside out. If there's some books that you could recommend for people who are kind of curious, that are entertaining but not fear focused, what would you say, Gabi, that just give kind of like a fun reality on what we're talking about?
Well, I would definitely encourage everyone to go get a copy of my free guide that you can find in the link in my bio. But if you want to talk about food, I'm a huge fan of Dr. Mindy Pels, who talks about working with your cycle. It's a Fast Like a Girl. There's also Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, who explains the importance of protein and how muscle is the key to longevity. And there's also Dr. Gundry, who I think we spoke about briefly. Satina is a huge fan of. He has a book called Gut Check, and that is very insightful, to say the least.
That's awesome. Feel free to reach out on any of the platforms. You can find me at Reawakening Beauty. I also have a free smoothies on the go for a healthy glow. And I hope that you got some value on becoming your inner it girl and just shining from the inside out. And head over to Gabi's platform. What's your platform, Gabi?
On all platforms is Health Coach Gabi.
All right. Well, we hope that you enjoyed it, whatever time you're tuning in. Have a wonderful night. And thank you so much for tuning in. Talk to you all later. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the latest episode of Reawakening Beauty. Subscribe to the podcast, hear more inspirational stories and tips related to all things mind, beauty, skin, and soul. I also encourage you to check out the show notes for additional information about my guest, the topics discussed during the episode, and of course, more information about me, your host, Shawna Patruno. If you want to be a guest on the show or just want to reach out and say hi, you can reach me on Instagram, LinkedIn, or email. All these details can be found in my show notes. Thank you so much for listening and have an amazing day.